Hi there, it's Rose. Welcome back to my channel. Today I thought it would be fun to take a look at the Simple Stories Spooky Things collection. And I have the paper pad here. I thought it would be fun to do a flip through. And then I also picked up the ephemera pieces, the chipboard stickers, and some of the other ephemera packs. I thought I would show you those, and then I'll show you what I've created using this. So this collection is brand new this year. It's the 2025 Simple Stories Spooky Things. There are 24 double-sided papers in the 6x8 paper pad, but I've taken out one of each sheet so that we could take a closer look. So if you're not familiar with this collection, I thought it would be just kind of fun to do a flip through of each of the sheets. So this is the first one, the Trick or Treat, and then here is the back side of this. And it's non-traditional Halloween colors, purple, but there's some white, orange, like a teal color, and black, of course. And then this is probably the most traditional with the orange skulls and bones. I think that's super cute. Here's the back of that. It says Boo and Eek. And this one is kind of fun, a little bit challenging if you're a card maker like I am to use a sheet like this, but I like the little scene of the spooky houses and of course the witch flying by and the bats, little half moon and the black cat. And here is the back of that one. And then this one is a little interesting for Halloween. I'm not really sure that I get the flowers, especially since they look like live flowers. But if you craft like this for Halloween and like these colors, this is a unique color palette. Here's the back of that. This is a little bit more my taste with the orange and white dots. And then, of course, here's pumpkins on this one. And then this is a fun one as well. I like this sheet, even though it does have that teal again. And then I like the black and white polka dots and then the stripes. And then this is a really pretty green. Here's some little cut apart tags, which are kind of fun. If you're maybe making a little tag flip, I might use that as some accents on cards. And then this stripe with the orange and then a little deeper orange. And here is some clouds, bats, and moons. I think this is nice as well. But I really do like this purple stripe. Here's again more cut aparts, and you can stamp on these little pieces as well. And then this is probably one of my favorites, the purple, but it does have some really fun spider webs and spiders. This is kind of a unique one with the owls, witch, and black cat, jack-o'-lantern. These are more traditional Halloween images that I really like, and that is very fun as well. And here's a cut apart that I think is very usable as a card maker. The Boo to You. This witch is really, really great. And then Spooky and Sweet with some of the Halloween treats. And then there's the back of that one. So they focused on a lot of polka dots for this collection, which I think are kind of cute. And I Put a Spell on You. This is more cut aparts. You Are Spooktacular. Eek. And then the Happy Hauntings. I really like this one. I like that it's kind of like little faux masking tape on the side of that as well. That's very, very unique. And there's the diagonal stripe. So that is one of each of the sheets that you get in this collection. Remember, there's doubles of these in the pad. So some to craft with and some to, well, we don't like to hoard our Halloween paper, but maybe some of us still do anyway. So some to craft with, some to hoard, or some to craft with, some to share. Now let me show you some of the ephemera. Now this is the packet of they call them sentiment bits. You get 45 pieces, and I thought these would be fun to use on cards because I'm always struggling for sentiments, especially with Halloween cards. So I like that this has a pretty good variety that'll coordinate nicely. Hocus Pocus, Boo, Trick or Treat, A Little Treat for You, Fabulous, and Hey Pumpkin, Bone Chillin', and then of course Happy Halloween. So there's a nice variety. I like the fonts. I like the selection of colors here. good to mix it up and layer, so I think these are going to be fun to use. And you get 45 pieces in this pack. The next packet is the journal bits. You get 40 pieces here, and I like that there were some, unique pieces like this Boo banner. But journal pieces for a card maker are a little bit tough to use, but they did include things like these ghosts, which I think are a lot of fun. The pumpkin, there's the witch there again, and some of these strips I think will be very usable. Trick or treat. If you're a junk journaler, this is super fun for that. As a card maker, you can also stamp your own little sentiments on some of these journal cards and make them a focal on the front of the card. But, there's always workarounds. If you're a tag maker, you can include some of these on your tags. I think that they're always worth considering for the journal bits. Now, the bits and pieces packets from Simple Stories are always what I call the very usable ephemera pieces. So these are always where you're going to see more of the actual icons, things like the jack-o'-lanterns, the black cats, and so forth. And here's a closer look of everything that's included. I like the spider web. I like the skull. The little moons, and of course there's that witch again. They also include some fun things like balloons, which if you know someone, and I know at least one or two people that have Halloween birthdays, you can easily make fun Halloween birthday cards and include those balloons. I like the witch's hat, even though I'm not crazy about the flowers on it. But there are some black flowers that I think are a lot of fun. I like the stars. They're easy to mix in. And then there's a few sentiments like spooky and boo, trick or treat, and eek. And again, you get 51 pieces. No, correction on that, 61 pieces in this kit. So quite a lot of the bits and pieces. Now, this is the Simple Pages page pieces of spooky things. You get 26 pieces here. These are large. They're really designed for scrapbooking, but if you're doing something like an October daily, you may use this on even the front of a journal. Would be kind of cute, that large spooky. The rest are not that big, but you do get, again, some icons like the ghosts, the jack-o'-lantern, some of these strips that look like what I call paper washi. I think this tape is really kind of unique. It's blank on the inside for you to stamp something. I like the spider web. I like the spiders and the bats. So these are larger, but again, I think that I'll be able to use some of these on cards as well. And then to round out this collection, I did pick up the chipboard stickers. So you get 39 stickers, and I love chipboard stickers. Not every collection has them, or I don't always pick them up. But this one was well worth it because, again, you have the eek, you have the boo, you have the pumpkins, you have the ghosts, bats, and this haunted house, which really doesn't look like it goes with this collection, I thought was super cute. I can see this much more in a Tim collection, the way that it's just the black and white and gray, and it's really not cartoony. So it's unique that they included that in the chipboard pieces. I'm really not connecting that it goes with this collection, but I really am going to love having that to use as a focal on the front of a card. So that is the Spooky Things chipboard stickers, and you can see that large spooky as well. So that is everything that I picked up for the Simple Stories Spooky Things collection from this year. Let's get into it, and I'll show you what I've created using the paper and the ephemera. Okay, so I made some cards using the Simple Stories Spooky Things collection. Here's the first one. All my cards are A2 size, and I did some paper layering. So I brought in some paper from my stash for layering and some very flat enamel dots. These are actually Dollar Tree dots, and I think they're really super cute. All the stamps are either Diamond Press or they're scrapbook.com. And I did stamp the inside. This one says Hocus Pocus. This was one of the little ephemera pieces along with the spider. And there's the inside. So that is my first one. So here's my next one, and this is the pumpkin paper with the flowers. That was a little bit of a challenge to use because, again, it had some of that purple, kind of like a lavender. So I backed it on a lavender first layer, and then I used this ephemera piece that said Batty About You, and I layered that up on the orange paper with the white polka dots that I thought was super cute. And I did add the flower ephemera, and then, but I wanted to bring in, obviously, some bats. So some bat cut-aparts, and then there's the flat backs. And here is the inside, stamped Happy Halloween. The next one was that sheet that had this design along the bottom that I really wanted to use. So I just cut that up because I wanted to bring in those houses and the jack-o'-lanterns, and I added the ephemera piece that says Fabulous, and then I added the wishes. I just cut a little banner there, and I backed everything on orange paper and then black. And here's the inside. That is the stamp from Diamond Press, Happy Haunting. Now, I really did like the orange paper with the skulls. It's probably the most traditional, along with the witch that you'll see later on in this collection. I like the ephemera piece that said Sending Spooky Smiles. I added the little ephemera piece of the spider, along with layering up this spider web paper in the lavender and backing it on black. Now here, I was glad to bring in some orange, so I really like that orange paper with the white dots. I used a first layer of some orange paper from my stash, and then this green sort of check, and then I layered up the orange and white, and then this is the back of one of the papers that had those sort of look like paper washi. I added A Little Treat for You embellishment piece, and then the spider, and these are some of those flat, sparkly little enamel dots. And there's the inside. And this is that witch that I talked about. She's probably the most traditional thing in this whole entire collection. But I really think it's a great cut apart, and I was very happy to use that. Again, I layered some purple paper, and then the purple with the black spider webs, and then that skeleton paper, again, a scrap of that just to break up and add some orange so that the cut apart witch would stand out. And then some orange enamel dots. There's a piece of that purple stripe paper, which I think you'll see coming up in another card. Not everyone likes Scary Halloween. I like Scary and Fun Halloween. This is probably the most fun card just because the colors and that black paper with the different color dots. I also brought in a little piece of that check paper, which I thought was kind of cute to break it up. I did include some of the flower embellishments, even though I really don't think they're very Halloween-y. But I like just adding the little touches of purple and then the purple enamel dots there. And this one says Trick or Treat. And this is, again, one of the stamps from Diamond Press. Here I used another one of the cut-aparts. I put a spell on you. I added probably the only chipboard piece that I used, which was the witch's hat. And I like this little jack-o'-lantern. I think it's got a kind of a cute face. I really found that when I was using this collection, it reminded me a lot of Doodlebug. You'll probably think that too, probably because of the dots and like this star paper. And of course the color combinations reminded me of Doodlebug. This is the stamp from scrapbook.com, Happy Spooky Season, and then more of that star paper just along the bottom. Here's another one of the cut-aparts, You Are Spooktacular. Again, I added a few of the little star embellishments and the moon. I layered up a black piece there and some orange. I kind of made this really like what would be probably a doodlebug looking paper design, with the stripes and then the checks and then the orange. And then I've set everything off on kind of like a sky blue cardstock base there, and then the inside Trick or Treat. Here's more of that stripe paper, but I think that's really colorful and fun. And then for my last card, again, I did a lot of paper layering. I started out with the black base. I added the black, purple with the black spider webs, and then the one that looks really like traditional vintage Halloween with that black cat, the little haunted mansion, and then the Trick or Treat embellishment piece. And there's the inside of that with the green paper. Now finally, I did cut up the tag page and made a little small tag flip with those little cut apart pieces and a couple of little embellishment pieces there that like this eek. Some were just plain Batty About You. Here I added the black cat, fabulous. Here I added the stars and the little spider. Here I added the ghost on that floral background. And then this one says Stay Spooky with a little jack-o'-lantern. Here I added the witch's hat and I added a bat on that polka dot little tag. And then finally, here's that little haunted mansion on the green tag. So just a little small tag flip using those little tag cut apart sheet. So all in all, I made 10 cards using the Simple Stories Spooky Things collection. Along with the 10 cards, I did make a little tag flip using the cut apart tag sheet. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at what I created. It was really fun crafting with this collection. I really do like the colors. Leave me a comment and let me know if you had a favorite card or what you're crafting. If you're new to my channel, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button. If you like this video, please remember to give me a thumbs up. That really does help my channel. Thanks so much for watching. I'm wishing you a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.